Thanks, Andy. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's nearly 5 years since the Birmingham and Staffordshire and Warwickshire virtual schools set up a pilot funded by Arts Connect to test the idea of a collaborative approach to offering arts and culture across virtual schools, with the intention that it would become then a regional offer. And that's how Artslink came about. And we feel like, in a way, we're at the beginning of the journey to create this extraordinary model, but it remains unique. This is the only region where all the virtual schools are behind the programme and can see the value of working collaboratively, not least so that it doesn't matter where you are in the region. If you are in care, you can access the arts and cultural offer. So I'm going to share my screen now. Our mission to support the creation of a high-quality arts and cultural offer which all care experienced young people across the West Midlands can access, so that they can develop as learners, as people and as artists. And Artslink's job was to help set up the framework and provide some activities that would create, I suppose, the foundations for individuals, local areas and whole region to be able to take up this offer, underpinned by this model which is progressive in the sense of trying stuff out, doing a bit more of it, refining your expertise and developing your passion, but could also be ducked in and out of, if you see what I mean. So you could try out different things, decide they're not for you and try something else. So that's the model that we've been working to. In fact, there we go, that's a bit better. Yeah, this pandemic came along, and we felt in a way that we just laid that initial foundation. It was something where we'd tried a lot of give it a go events, had some good take up, some great success stories, and we're looking to build on that and go a little bit deeper in terms of our offer. So these statistics that you're looking at now are ones where you can see that we were up to nearly 1,000 children and young people taking part in events, and a really good number of carers attending as well. So we were pretty happy with that. Oh, there was another slide I was going to show you, which is just participants by age. The formatting's a bit odd here. There's supposed to be hyphens between the numbers, but you can see there that we've got a really good spread. And sometimes it can be easy with these types of things to end up appealing only to primary. And we've worked hard to make sure that we do get a wider spread than that, so pretty pleased by it. These quotes, some of you may have seen before, and they might be a bit too small for you to see. So I'm just going to pick out a couple. My imagination is like a coloured pencil. It can create light and dark ideas. And it's been fantastic to have such a phenomenal time with the boys. His behaviours have been bad recently, but it's so good to see him concentrating and really getting into it, enjoying himself. This is his sort of thing. And the importance of this really is that, yes, the statistics, you know, they can look quite impressive in terms of take up, but actually what really makes the difference here are the individuals and their own stories. Everyone's journey through arts and culture is different. We know that miracles can happen through the arts, and it's part of the job of this programme to pick that up. And that's why we're working with an evaluation company who are going into this kind of detail to see where the transformation happens and what it is about arts and culture that makes it happen in ways that perhaps some other areas of education and development don't. So when the pandemic hit, the virtual schools charged us to see what we could take online instead. And so Pepe and I created Connect and Create, which has just grown and grown really into this array of opportunities. And we've tried to keep adding things that might appeal to different types of people. We've had an arts festival, we've had some Disney activities, healthy body, healthy mind. So as well as our sort of ongoing creative challenges, which are the things that have had the most take up, there have been all sorts of other opportunities as well. Just a few statistics to share. We're over 20,000 page views now, and the pages that are being visited are the ones that we hoped would be. Alongside that, well over 100 featured artworks by West Midlands Care Experience children and young people. We had a slow start and thought, oh gosh, we wonder if this is going to work. And then it's really taken off. And that and indeed the engagement overall is so much to do with the work of the arts ambassadors in each virtual school. These are the guys who are, you know, they're the gatekeepers to the young people as far as we're concerned and as far as the arts sector is concerned. But also there's huge potential for that to be a bottleneck. There's so much information to be able to relay, and we're just delighted that there's so much support from within the virtual schools. And one of our things to look at today is how can we get whole virtual school teams to take this even further and see how a local offer can complement what the Artslink offer is. The other great thing about lockdown, obviously there have been lots that weren't great, but people getting used to webinars has meant that our webinar program for artists and arts organisations could go online, and we've had much bigger take up as a result. And this is part of our long-term ambition to make sure that there's a really great, rich array of artists and arts organisations equipped to work in this field, so that when you're building your local offer, you've got more of a sense of where to go to. So that's well underway. Oh, my screen is frozen. Right, okay, good. So that was all from me, except just to say that as Andy said, we're pleased with where we've got to at the moment. There's been something of a hiatus, but a lot of this online stuff is going to continue. Our focus for next year, as well as getting some events in place, is to look at how we can support that local offer and help you to get the best opportunities to your children and young people. So I'm now going to hand across to Peppy, who's going to cover the next bit.
I certainly am. So here we go. We all know that arts and culture can be viewed as a nice thing, as an extra treat, or that it can be viewed as being for posh people. And I'd really urge you to take a look on Connect and Create at the talk that Youssef and Sarah Jane do. And they talk as care experience adults, having spent a fair amount of time in care through their youth and childhood. And they talk really articulately about the crucial and transformative role that the arts have had in their lives. So I'm going to leave you to check that out yourself rather than me talk on their behalf. But if you as virtual school staff or heads or whoever are being asked to invest in the arts, you want to know what you're going to get from it, or what your young people are going to get from it. You want to know the dividends. So let's have a look at some of those dividends. These come from the Chief Exec of Arts Council of England, Darren Henley. And I'm not going to go through them one by one. I'm going to skip around a few of them. But we know with the creativity dividend, the positives that come from being involved for your young people in the arts and culture is that young people can see and do things in different ways. They get a breadth of experience and knowledge. They can see possibilities, and they can also use the arts to name and own their own narrative. They can use them as a language, and they can become authors of their own stories. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. In the learning dividend, they're going to learn many, many skills. They're going to gain analytical skills and critical skills. They're going to develop specific art form skills, and they can refine those, hone those, and apply many of them across many other subject areas within their school learning, but also life skills. And we'll look at a little bit of research on that in a minute. In terms of learning about their own personal creativity, young people are going to develop their own artistic voice. If they've had really solid, high quality, ongoing access to the arts and culture, young people will know, and they'll be able to say, I have knowledge, I have skills, I have vision, so I have agency to make and create. I can achieve. And that is a really powerful place for any of our young people to be. They also can have fun. The arts can be lots of fun, but they can be challenging as well and very robust. So in terms of the feel-good dividend, well-being and mental health is right at the top of everybody's agenda at the moment because of the pandemic. On Connect and Create, I don't think it's any coincidence that some of our most popular features are the well-being zone and also the healthy body, healthy mind feature that we had, and please go and check those out. In terms of feeling good, and well-being, the arts give such an array of different languages. It might be photography, it might be dance, physical theatre, it might be doodling, it might be songwriting, it might be digital design, but the arts offer so many languages for young people to express and externalized, so to get out any dis-ease or challenging material and experiences that they are wrestling with inside. And once those are externalized and they're represented either visually or through movement or various other ways, those can be processed and explored in a very safe and healthy way and a creative way. The arts in themselves as activities can soothe the vagus nerve, that big motorway that's running through, touching our internal organs, which has a massive impact on how we are day to day. The rhythm, repetition and relational aspects of the arts, so whether the repetitive nature of doodling or collaging, sticking and pasting, they give sensory feedback, but that repetition and rhythm also soothes that system. Singing, dancing requires us to breathe differently, to get right down into our lungs. And again, that is soothing our systems. The positive impact of dopamine and serotonin releases in our bodies mean that we feel better. We just feel better. And you'll know that if you've been at a gig or you've been to see an uplifting show or something, you're getting a serotonin release, or taking part in a dance class or something. So the arts can calm the amygdala within our brain, and it can create positive memories to store in the hippocampus area of the brain, which is all incredibly positive for young people who will have experienced some kind of trauma on their journey into care. I attended a Tavistock and Portland NHS Trust webinar in 2020, and then Cissé, who you all probably know of, he spent a lot of his childhood in care, and he's a writer and he's a poet. And one of the things that he said that really stayed with me was, I had no witness. And one of the things with the arts is that the art form can become your witness, a way of documenting your life events. And I asked him in a Q&A section, what role or significance did words have for you? And he said, and I quote, "Poetry is the voice that has brought me to myself and to the world." So we know that the arts can have a sort of transforming effect in terms of building that sense of self, helping to build a sense of identity in a creative way, and also to really affirm a sense of belonging in the world and a connection. So Lem, and I would say that he still uses words so that he can feel good, so that he can connect and find his place in the world. I would add into these dividends a relational dividend, because when taking part in the arts and creativity and cultural events, a young person can have many relationships. It can be a productive, creative relationship of making and learning with the artist, of getting to know the material in the art form, but also maybe co-creating or sharing work with their carer, with foster siblings, parents, social worker, virtual school staff, peers, and many, many relationships can be strengthened or actually initiated through arts and cultural activities. Very quickly, just touching in a wider context on enterprise dividends, investment in the arts results in economic benefits. It creates jobs and careers, some more lucrative than others, but many people work in the arts. And in terms of cultural tourism, you will see Coventry benefiting from the Year of Culture and the amount of people that will flock to see some of the brilliant events that are on there. And also Birmingham too, with the Commonwealth Games and the arts and cultural programme that will wrap around that. So in terms of whole towns and cities and countries, enterprise in arts and creativity builds fantastic reputations. This country's reputation for the arts is massive internationally. So if we just move on and touch on a couple of bit of research. In 2015, University of Leicester identified that through arts participation, care experienced young people achieved social capital, or they built their social capital. That was through bridging capital that was developed, which was when they were taking part in arts activities with other young people outside of the care system. So they were building networks, but also bonding capital, because they were connecting and bonding with others in care when it was more specifically a care experienced young person's event. If we can move on to the Harvard research, which is in 2009, Harvard University predicted that these were the 7 survival skills that young people would need for the 21st century. You have a look through them. I'm not going to read them out. And I think all of those, probably number 5, slightly less so, but definitely the others are absolutely intrinsic parts of the experience of being part of arts and cultural activities. So let's have a look at cultural capital if we move on again. So talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. Everyone brings something to the table, but not everyone gets a seat. And these are the words of George the poet. If you haven't heard his podcast, I would really urge you to go listen. It's called Have You Heard George's Podcast? And this sums up cultural capital, that getting access to that table, whether you're talented or not, you don't have to have a talent. Enjoying arts and culture is reason enough to be there. Artslink is part of the arts and cultural buffet that's out on that table, but we, and I say we in the widest sense of everybody here and all of the adults that are surrounding the young people and children and babies that you're working with, all of us need to get more chairs around that table. So the Universal and Arts Cultural Pathway that Andy mentioned earlier, that entitlement has been developed and it's at the end of the consultation period now. It's a progressive mapping of activities, so it names activities across 7 art forms that care experienced young people should be getting access to from birth to adulthood. So from novice, from starting out to expert. And as Andy's already mentioned, that will be informing PEP meetings, also the online ePEP, eGov and equivalence systems, and that's currently being piloted. It's a document for young people to take with them, but it is also a document for all of the adults around the young person to use, to check with, and to find their own way through in order to make sure that those progressive opportunities are put in place for your young people. So, you may say, if we could just move on to the last slide, I don't do arts and culture, the arts are nothing to do with my life. And I would really challenge any of you on that. I doubt any of you are saying that, but if you are, imagine a life without arts and culture. And imagine that if we don't get enough opportunities out there, that's what we're offering your young people or our young people. So I would say to you, you don't do arts and culture, well, wipe the music off your phone. Silence the tunes that punctuate your memories and your life events. Don't whistle or hum any favourite tunes or roll song lyrics around in your head. Remove paintings, pictures, photos, sculptures, prints that please you, that cheer you up, that brighten where you work, that where you live or visit. No textures, no colours, no patterns in your life then. Get them out. Shut the books, the magazines, the poems, comics, podcasts and journals that inspire you, that make you laugh, that challenge your everydayness. Switch off the TV dramas then, the documentaries, the films, the animations, switch off the digital world and the creations that stun, that delight and maybe disturb. Stop eating from beautifully crafted ceramics, glassware, metals, use only functional things and wear only functional clothes. Put down your imaginative skills, your relationship building skills, the community cohesion that can be created and the well-being that can be supported and the outlet that can be given through the arts using stories, dancing, music, drawing, films, TV, whatever. A world without the arts? Think again. Our lives are saturated by the arts and let's make sure our young people's lives are too. Thank you. Back to Baz.
Thanks, Peppy. It's interesting to note that you're doing quite a lot of discussions today around data, and perhaps the thing to take into that is how have some of these things that we've talked about, these dividends and capitals, how can they be reflected in the data that you collect? Do you see that coming through? And if you don't, is there something that you'd like to build in to help you do that? We're going to go into breakout groups shortly. Before we do, I wanted to just outline the next academic year so that you've got a sense of what's coming up in terms of what Artslink will provide. So this is our offer, and this is really building on what we've done previously, certainly prior to lockdown. 4 regional Look Inside days or performances. So Look Inside days, some of you might remember we did a Look Inside the BBC a couple of years back. Performances might be getting groups to come along to a regional event and perform. So we've done like Choir in a Day before, that sort of thing. Each cluster, so there are 5 sub-regional clusters, will have a budget to be able to deliver 2 or 3 events. Previously, those have been what we call give it a go, so sort of trying something out for the first time, but that may develop into something that's a bit deeper over the next year or 2. There's a partnership with the West Midlands Music Education Hubs, which is building an instrumental tuition offer, particularly around year 4. And then we are complementing that by starting some programs which are give it a go events that focus on Key Stage 3. So trying out different instruments and disciplines to see if there's a kind of particular talent or interest to take forward for individuals. Connect and Create, the online offer, will continue. It's too valuable and has too big a reach to leave static, and we keep seeing a steady take-up of everything that we're offering, and often spikes when we're offering something particular like the Healthy Body, Healthy Mind programme. And then an artist and virtual CPD programme. So we'll continue to work with artists and arts organisations, but we're also going to be offering over the next year Arts Award Advisor training for staff within virtual schools. That programme is such a good way, Arts Award, to track and develop young people's development in the arts, and to be able to do that, to offer that straight from the virtual school, we think could be really valuable. So that's what it looks like, and the idea with Artslink was always that it would provide this sort of framework, a number of activities, a regional structure which would maximise the opportunities and get the right sort of economies of scale in place. And then what really will make it fly is the degree to which you can respond to the needs of your young people, whoever they are, and wherever they are on their journeys, wherever they are within the region, to be able to do something really exciting. So you might develop a relationship with a local arts venue and be able to get regular discounted tickets or free workshops or whatever. Or you might just be finding someone who can provide some really valuable one-to-one support for a young person who's got a talent or an interest. And we think that there is great value in you as whole virtual school staff teams having a look at this whole area and seeing where you can find some opportunities. So that could be technical. It could be building up a really good, efficient database so that when an activity comes up or an offer comes up in a different part of the region and you've got out of area kids there, you've got a really straightforward way of being able to communicate that offer. And vice versa. Or it could just be somebody within the group has a contact or a particular enthusiasm and is able to bring something to the table in terms of how to connect that into the main offer. So think about those things in your groups. We're going to break you out